Welcome, everybody, to episode 10 of the Triathlon Preview Show. As always, myself and Emily are joining you.
Aloha, everybody. I'm practicing for next week.
So as you can tell, we are going to Kona. So Emily, give us some information on a sponsor we have for this episode and all next week in Kona.
Yeah, so Rudy Project has signed on to sponsor the show. So starting now, we're going to put a link in the show notes and you can use that link to go shopping at Rudy Project and you'll get 50% off, 50% off your purchases all through the month of October. And then the percentage will go down after that, but you have a good month to do some great shopping online. So, and the code will be try preview. And we'll also put that in the show notes, but there'll be a link there as well. So go shopping. We're going to have some giveaways out there in Kona, but we did not want to leave those who will not be on the island high and dry.
Yeah, give us some information about the giveaways we're doing too, Emily.
Yeah, so we have 4 pair. I got them in the mail, so they're ready to head out to Kona with me. We have 2 pairs of performance glasses and then 2 pairs of their new casual models for 2016. The performance, there's one that kind of folds up nice and small. And then the Trailix, which is their other performance glasses, I wore them. They sent me a pair as well so I could try them out. They have the lenses that change color depending on the light, and then they're also super light. So they're great.
Awesome. Yeah. So make sure you take advantage of that for the month of October. And then also if you're in Kona, look out for us and we'll have some giveaways. So we have a full slate of races this weekend, actually. We have a couple 70.3s, an Ironman, and some good ITU racing. So we'll start with Ironman 70.3 Silverman. So Emily, give us some information on this race.
Yeah, so this is the most stacked of the ones that we're going to talk about. I think everybody who's not in Kona seems like the good 70.3 people seem to be racing this race. The course is really tough. It's a one loop swim in Lake Mead. For the pros, it'll be non-wetsuit most likely. Lake Mead is great. It's super clear. I'm sure the water levels are down, but I've swam in it. I did a race a few years ago there. It's a beautiful lake. The bike is hilly and windy and exposed, so it'll be tough. And then you descend back down into Henderson where you have a 3-loop run. That's a really long kind of ascent and then a long downhill, and you just do that 3 times. So the climbing is tough on the legs, but then you have that pounding descent. So that's also tough on legs.
Yeah, awesome. So looking at this male start list, it looks like we have a couple people that might not be there and definitely some strong contenders that will be there. So do you have any information on the male pros list, Emily?
Yeah. So Drew Scott is your defending champion. He is back. And then there's some other really strong people. You got Greg Bennett. I think Ben Collins is probably not going to race. He just did Chattanooga. Thomas Gerlach, he probably won't race, but he's crazy enough that he might. I don't know. And then you have Cam Dye, who will love the bike course because he can really use that to his advantage. Cody Beals, who we talked to, he's been training hard in Houston, right? Or in the Woodlands with you?
Yep. He's been here training with Magnolia Masters. So this will be his last race, and then he's heading back to Canada to do a little more training.
Oh, is he doing an Ironman later in the year?
No. No, he's not. He's focusing on 70.3 still.
Oh, okay. And then, Leon Griffin, we don't really know where he's going to be. He just did Cozumel and didn't do very well. So he's also on the list for Rio 70.3. And then you have someone like Barrett Brandon, who will definitely be out in front on the swim and the bike. And, Greg Bennett, he just was second at the Beijing International Triathlon. So it's another strong person. And again, Taylor Reed, who trains with Paulo Souza on the triathlon squad. He's had some good races this year. And another triathlon squad guy is Jason Peterson, and this will be his debut 70.3. He's excited, and he loves hilly bikes. So he's someone to look out for on the bike and the run. For the women, Lauren Goss was second last year. So she's back just off her win in Beijing. And then you have Lauren Brandon, who, per usual, will be out of the water ahead. Jackie Herring is out. Jen Spielander is out. She crashed her bike. Kate Bevilacqua is ready to go. She'll be strong throughout. And Melanie McQuaid, who just did well at Challenge Penticton. So, I mean, you got a whole host of really good people. And someone to look out for on the run is number 68, Melindy Elmore from Canada. I think she just got third in Penticton, and she runs crazy fast. She was like a national level runner. So she's someone to look out for. And, you have Danielle Mack, who won Canada. I mean, there's just a lot of people. I mean, the list is chock full.
Yeah, don't forget, we have bib number 2. We have Michael Raylert, and he is confirmed as far as Twitter goes that he will be there.
Ooh, that's huge. I just skipped over him. Yeah, he would definitely be one of my picks, especially with that run course being so hilly. He just kind of he runs like a deer. So.
Yeah, it should be an interesting start list. I mean, it definitely looks like a lot of people are trying to get, a good 70.3 points. I mean, the start list is definitely not lacking of any star power. So it should be a good race.
Yeah, I assume that a lot of people will do this race and then they go out and hang out in Kona for their post-race recovery.
Yeah, I'm sure Vegas to Kona is a pretty easy trip then.
Yep, for sure. So I expect to see many of them next week.
All right, so let's move down south a little bit to Ironman 70.3 Brazil in Rio. So give us some information on that, Emily.
It is okay, so it's an ocean swim. I did look at the map. It's west of downtown Rio. It's not in a bay or anything, so I assume the water quality is fine. It's a one-loop swim. The bike is kind of an out and back to the east and then an out and back to the west. It looks like there might be some hills once you go off the coast, but mostly pretty flat. The run is along the coast. There might be a little bit of hills on one section. I couldn't tell from the topography on the map, and that's 2 loops. So I assume it'll be pretty fast. It seems like all the Brazilian races are fast. On the list, you have, Leon Griffin is on there. I don't know for sure if he's racing. Santiago Ascento, he's won some races down in Brazil. Let's see who else. And then on the women's side, I mean, mostly Brazilians. So there you go. That's all I know.
Yeah, so it looks like if Leon does go there, he could be one of the ones to take advantage of a short start list there.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm sure some of these Brazilians are strong. Just they don't race up here a lot. I mean, they're getting into their summer, so I'm sure everybody's getting fit.
All right, well, let's move out to way across the waters to Ironman 70.3 Korea. This will be the second Korea race in 2 weeks, I think. What do you got information there, Emily?
Yeah, so one loop swim in a lake. The bike is a lollipop. They said it's really good road surface, described as fast. It looks like it's in the valley, so you don't go up any of the mountain roads. And then the run is 2 loops and was described as very flat. So I don't know exactly what that means. Flat is flat to me. But you got Brad Williams, who was just 4th in the other Korea race. You have Paul Amy's on the list, who he was, doing really well a couple years ago. Jordan Braden, number 14, is someone to look out for. He just started training with Soto. He's a Canadian, so could be doing well. And then number 20, Sven Sudberg. He's a strong German as well. For the females, Katie Duffield, one of the Duffield twins. There's 2 Australians. She's strong. And then number 33 has won. She won, I believe, the Poland 70.3. And then you have Julia Grant from New Zealand. She but a couple of years ago used to race in North America quite a bit. She's a really strong cyclist. And then Sarah Crowley, also from Australia, is someone to look out for.
Yeah, Brad, he's definitely looking on focusing on this race and hopes he can get on his first podium back where he started triathlon. So he's pretty excited for this Korea trip that he's on right now.
Well, maybe he should just win.
Or that, yep. I'll tell. He should probably just win then. That sounds easiest to me too.
Yeah, Brad, the pressure's on.
All right, so let's transition to our Ironman. We have a full Ironman this weekend. Is Ironman Barcelona. Emily, give us some information on this race course.
Yeah, so it's another fast race course. Ocean swim, one lap. The bike is flat. You kind of go out and do 2 loops and then go the other direction and do 2 loops all along the coast. The run is flat along the coast. On the list, I mean, you got Sylvan Sudri, who's a really good swimmer. So he's someone to look out for. Pierre Bittner, not quite as strong on the swim, but he did well at Challenge Roth this year and a couple other European Ironmans. Stephen Bayless, coming back from a bit of an injury, so someone to look out for there. Number 20, Michael Roos from Germany. He did this race last year and was, I believe, top 5. So he knows the course. On the women's side, you got Yvonne van Leerken. I would say she's probably the favorite. Natasha just did Vichy and did pretty well. I think she was 3rd maybe or 2nd. So she's still fit. And then Emir Moulin was on the list for Mallorca, but she didn't start. So maybe she's starting this one. So she would be someone who would be a favorite. And then you have Jackie Gordon from the United States. I've raced with her a couple times. So I can't tell from her Facebook if she's definitely going, but she's someone, to kind of cheer for.
All right, so let's move on to a little ITU racing. We have ITU World Cup Cozumel. The start list is definitely not lacking for this late season race. So give us some information on this race course, Emily.
Yep, sprint distance, 1 loop swim. The bike is 4 loops with quite a few corners. So that's what the ITU describes as technical. The run course is just 2.5 loops. It's flat, so it won't be difficult in that way, but it's super hot and can be windy. So that'll make it challenging. I think you have some holdovers, people who kind of stuck around North America after the grand finale in Chicago showing up. You have Richard Murray on the men's side. So he was just 3rd in Chicago, kind of ran his way up there. So he's definitely a favorite. And you also have Grunchales, who I think he was top 5 in the Chicago finale. He was running with, everybody was kind of behind Mola and Gomez, but he was running with that second group the whole time. And I think he stuck up there for 4th or 5th. So he's racing in his home country. So he would be someone to look out for. Jared Schumacher is going to be there. He is coming back from his shoulder surgery when he broke his collarbone, but I think he's feeling good. It's only a 750-meter swim, so easier to kind of stay in that group. Joe Malloy, who had a bit of a bummer race in Chicago, is someone to look out for. And then someone else who stuck out on the list to me was Leonardo Chacon from Costa Rica. He's used to racing in these hot conditions, so definitely someone to keep an eye on. And there's probably others that I missed.
Yeah, it looks like the men fields, as far as USA goes, definitely has a lot of them there. I mean, it's probably close, but it also probably has some implications, as far as still showing your Olympic, ability for next year.
Yeah, I'm sure a World Cup race points-wise doesn't factor a lot, but just showing that you're out there racing, doing well, training well, being fit. I'm sure that, you want to look good. So I would assume that too.
What about the women's start list?
So I would say Rachel Klammer was probably, kind of one of the top dogs there. She was just 5th in Chicago and 6th overall kind of in the series. I don't think she finished out of the top 20 in a WTS. So she's someone to definitely look out for. Lindsay Jordanak from the United States hasn't had the greatest season, so maybe she's looking for a little bit of redemption. You also have Summer Cook, who trains with the triathlon squad, really good swimmer, so she'll be out of the water, maybe in the lead or in that front group. And then you have Renee Tomlin, who is usually further behind out of the water, but because it's a sprint, she might be able to stay closer, and she's a really, really good runner. And then Lisa Norden's on the list. So super strong cyclist, and if she comes out of the water a little bit behind, someone like Renee Tomlin could ride her wheel up to the front. So, with a sprint race, it might all come back together and then just be a 5K in the heat.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like fun, a 5K in the heat.
Yeah, no. I used to be an Olympic distance race, and I think the carnage was just too much. Like, people were not doing well across the line, so they've changed it to a sprint.
All right. Well, looks like we have a lot of good racing. So let's segue into the Ironman World Championships again. Last week we did a little men's preview, just quick hits and stuff. Let's go with the women. Just what do you have about the women field, Emily? Anything special?
Well, I wanted to say something real quick about the men's thing. Like we talked probably for 15 or 20 minutes last week, and I don't think we hit like we missed so many people like Van Honacker, Simons, McMahon. Like there are people we didn't even mention. So I just wanted to I don't know, say that like maybe I felt bad, but like it's just such
Well,
a
you
huge
can't feel
list.
bad when the list is so big, it's so deep, and some people are going to be left out of the top 5, out of the top 10. But that just shows the potential of this field and the unknown. I mean, I think after the first, I mean, there's maybe 2 or 3 stars as far as who
Right.
everybody's picking. Besides them, everybody's gonna be fighting for those, 3 through 10 spot, and I don't think you can say who's going to be 3 through 10 after that.
No, because one mistake, you miss a gel and you have a bad patch on the run, like you could be out of it. So, okay, well, let's go to the women. So we'll put the link in the show notes, but apparently Marinda Carfrae took a bit of a tumble this week, finished a hard bike session, and I'm sure we've all done this. You kind of get unfocused and you're just focusing on, I'd like to get X snack. She wanted a Snickers and she took a tumble off her bike. It was in an Australian magazine and they called it becoming unstuck. So I guess that's the Australian verbiage for going over your handlebars. I don't know. But she apparently says she's fine. What do you think, Zach? Is she fine?
The first thing I thought was, you know what, it's an excuse if she loses. But I don't think she's an excuse lady, so I think it has nothing. It won't bother her. I mean, we'll see. There's nothing that I mean, we'll see what happens, I guess, but I don't think it's that big of a deal.
No, I think maybe it was an excuse. So when she shows up at pre-race stuff and she's got a couple scrapes, people aren't going to be like, oh my God, what happened? They'll be like, oh, okay. I mean, honestly, like I've done that kind of thing. It's like you just lose a little bit of focus for a second and then that's when it happens. So that it should be a lesson to all of us to remain focused until we have gotten off our bikes.
So yeah, where I want to start is I want to start with these consistent ladies like Jody Swallow, Caroline Steffen, Rachel Joyce. I mean, how many years have they always been, what, 2 through 5?
Yeah, I mean, Jody was fourth last year. She had a bit of a blow up the year before. She got hyponatremia, too much water. But Caroline and Rachel have, yeah, I mean, I think Rachel's finished everywhere but first as far as places. She's finished sixth, fifth, fourth, third, and second. So, yeah, very consistent for sure.
All right. Well, I mean, where do you think one of those 3, what do they have to do to break into that? I would say that the top 2 this year, because there's kind of 2 that are beyond everybody else, when everybody's talking. So what does one of those 3 have to do?
Rachel, I think she just needs to run like she's capable, and that might be her holding back just a bit on the bike. I often feel like everybody gets into this whole like, how many minutes do we have on Marinda? How many minutes do we have on Marinda? And it's kind of like, do they go outside of themselves and cycle too fast or too hard? And then they have 14 minutes on Marinda, but it doesn't matter because they lose those extra X minutes the back half of the run because they're too tired. Like I always think of Kona as kind of it's a closed energy equation. Like if you give up minutes, if you go too hard somewhere, you lose those minutes somewhere else and you usually lose them exponentially somewhere else. So if you go 2 minutes too hard on the bike, you usually lose 6 minutes on the run. First, I'm totally like just pulling numbers out of my ass, but like if Rachel can run at 2:56, she's gonna hold Marinda off. Like she'll have like without trying, she'll have 7 to 8 minutes on her off the bike. I feel like if she cycles the way she's capable. I mean, the X factor is how far is Danielle Reef going to be up the road, but we can talk about that in a minute. But that's what I think. I think they need to not be afraid to have the gap be closer, Does that make sense?
Yeah, so you feel like they've been racing scared in past years where they know they need to get let's 10 plus minutes up on Miranda where in all honesty, maybe they only need to be 7, 8 minutes up and just run the race that they're capable of running and not worried about who's going to come from behind them.
Yeah, I think they need to. I think they need to back their runs because they can run that quickly. I mean, Rachel is a good enough athlete to do that. Like her 306 last year or whatever she ran, like that. That's not. She's capable more, and I think she knows that. And I know she had a bit of an injury at the beginning of the year after Texas, but she's just nails. And if she races the way she can and just isn't worried about, oh God, I must have this many number of minutes, like I think it could be good.
All right. Well, I kind of want to hold off on the Reef thing for a bit just because I think that's what everybody, that's the
Right.
question everybody's been asking. But let's move on to one other thing. Leanda Cave. I mean, she is an Ironman world champion, 70.3 champion. She is further down the, let's say, bib list, than everybody else.
Right.
I mean, what does she have to do? I feel like she's always a threat, and she should be mentioned with these other ladies.
I agree. And especially the way she raced in Texas, I think that was kind of back to the old Leanda. And I think she's fitter now than she was then. And she's fine in the heat. She lives in Miami. She knows this course. I mean, backwards and forwards, and she's not afraid to go really hard, and she's aggressive, and she's a racer, and she'll lay it all out there. And yeah, I mean, she's definitely someone that is a huge threat for the top 5 for sure. I think, she's going to need to run these gals are going to need to run 255 to 258. That's just if they're going to coming off the bike. I mean, that's what they have to run if Rinny runs the way we all think she might.
All right. Well, one more I have. Melissa, bib number 11. So she hasn't raced as one Ironman this whole year, correct? She got an all-MAC qualification spot in Melbourne.
Yeah, and I think she did like a half or two before that, but she hasn't raced since Melbourne. And just a few weeks ago, I think she tweeted like, first week of running, haven't run since Melbourne. It's like, oh shit. Like, so she's been injured the whole summer, basically. That's why she hasn't raced. And that's what I figured. I'm like, it seems unlikely that you would choose not to race at all from March until Kona. So yeah, I don't know.
What do you
That's
think
a
about
little
that? I mean,
scary.
she hasn't run, but I mean, I would assume she's been biking or swimming. I mean, she's going to be probably the freshest on the start list out of everybody. Does that
Uh,
factor into it all?
well, this is what I heard. So I heard she's been swimming and biking, and she's been swimming and biking hard. Like, I can't do anything easy because I'm not running. So I'm just going to kill myself all the time swimming and biking. So is she fresh? I don't know. And she's aggressive when she races, and she in the past has gotten impatient. So that worries me, and especially in Kona. Melbourne was warm, but it's not like Kona hot. And just if you get impatient there, I just think it's really bad. And the way she runs is all or nothing. As far as if you watch her run, like it's very bouncy and boundy, like she's on the track. So it's not one where you can shuffle and kind of get it done. Like she either runs really hard and fast, or it's really slow and crappy. But if she's on, like, it's scary. But I mean, it's still 26 miles and only a month of running.
All right. Well, let's jump on to the Reef Carfrey debate then. I'm pretty sure, as far as I remember, you have it one way and I have it the other. But what's your predicament, or what's your prediction on this?
I don't know. Did you see Brett Sutton's tweets this week where he tweeted, he hashtagged a picture of Reef on the track, and he hashtagged fastest run split?
Yes, I did.
I don't
That
know if that's a mind game or if that's like legit. I mean, she did run 117 or whatever in Dubai, and She outran everybody by, I mean, I think she was 122 in ZLMC, and Heather Wortel was like 124 high, so she was definitely the fastest runner, but Miranda wasn't there. So I don't know. I mean, she ran 307 last year to go and run 250. I mean,
But she
maybe,
doesn't need to run a 250, does she?
unless she wants to break the course record.
How far ahead does Reef need to be from Carfrey? Is that a question we should be asking? Because you've already mentioned before, people have getting caught up in these number games. Is it a
Right.
number game for those two, or is it about racing?
The
Or is
course.
it about racing the course and staying within themselves?
I mean, I think that Reef will do that because I think that's how Brett Sutton coaches her. Like, do what you can do and then see where you end up. We know you're fitter than last year. We know you're stronger than last year. Bike the way you're supposed to bike, run the way you're supposed to run, swim the way you're supposed to swim. And if she does all those things up to her capability, she'll probably be first.
So if
Oh,
Miranda and Reef both have the races they're capable of,
yes. Who wins? You
who's
think?
who's leading at mile 25? How about that?
I mean, oh gosh. I mean, it's so hard to go against Miranda because she's just nails for this race, and I think she's pissed off that we're all saying, "Well, Reef's got it. Reef didn't run like she is capable of last year, like, and she only lost by 2 minutes. Like, it's Reef, it's Reef, it's Reef." I think that pisses Rennie off. So, and Rennie's not bad on the bike at all, and the Kona course actually suits her very well. It's She's powerful on the hills. So I don't know. I mean, if
Why don't
Reef
we?
has 10 minutes, like, it's going to be pretty tough, I think.
All right. Well, why don't we leave that debate there, and we'll get your final answer in Kona next week, so everybody has to tune in next week.
Well, I think the final answer will be on October 10th.
That's true. Let's go a little further down the start list. I mean, people like Beth or Heather Jackson, Kona rookies, right?
Right. Well, Beth
Or
has raced as an age grouper.
Beth has raced in an age group, so but as a pro, Heather Jackson. There's a couple other rookies further down the list, and then you also have some veterans
Nate?
that have been there before. You have Nate. How do you think any of those ladies are going to do? Can they play a factor into the overall dynamics of the race?
Yeah, I think Heather Jackson needs to be patient. She did a really patient race in Coeur d'Alene, but she was by herself, so, and she was out in front, so it's easier to kind of stay within yourself, be patient, especially it was hot there. I'm worried that she might get a little discombobulated when things aren't going kind of as she expects. If things are happening off the front of the bike and she's getting worried about gaps and stuff, like, what's her reaction going to be to that? Is she going to be like, oh shit, I got to bike my ass off and get up there? Or is she going to be patient and let the race come back to her? That'll be interesting to see. She actually has raced it as an age grouper, so she knows it, and she was out there training, I think, all year, like during race week last year. So she definitely knows the course. She just hasn't raced it as a pro. Beth Gertis has had a ton of really good Ironmans, kind of all, leading her qualification, except for Karen's, where she got the flat. Is she going to be tired? Will she have the snap in her legs? That's the $1 million question. Whether that the qualification will have taken it out of her. She certainly has the goods to run really fast. I think as an age grouper, she ran 3:10 maybe, and that was 4 or 5 years ago. So she's definitely someone to look out for, especially on the run. I don't know what's going to happen on the bike as far as if she'll get stuck by herself, which can be a bad place to be. So I don't know. I mean, they definitely could play a factor. I think people that are going to run, she would be someone who would run into the top 10. She's not going to come off the bike in the top 10.
How much So you mentioned these ladies have raced as an age grouper, but isn't the Kona Pro race is so different than the age group race? I mean, there's a lot more tactics on the bike, or basically don't get left behind. There's nowhere to go. I mean, the age groupers are completely different. Don't you agree?
Oh yeah, I mean the age group is just a freaking train of 2,200 athletes. Like, I mean, you've seen the pictures, I'm sure. So it's completely different. People like you could be all alone and not see anybody. I mean, it's an out and back course, so you'll see the men coming back or whatnot. But like, there could be moments where you are literally all alone, and and it's hot and it's windy and you're tired and it hurts. So I think those are the differences, and you have to be, and I mean, Beth and Heather are experienced racers, so they know how to stay on their power, but it's mentally, I think, a little bit harder, especially on the bike. I mean, it's easier on the bike when you have like carrots in front of you. So that's why kind of staying in a group is important, but at the same time, if the group is going too hard, all that kind of stuff. And then also, like Trevor was saying last week when we were talking to him, like, it also can be hard mentally being in a group, because you have to be so on it as far as being careful not to drift into the draft zone, which is especially is an issue in Kona, because you do also have those rolling hills. So you could be coming down a hill while someone's going up, so you can't kind of come into that trough and end up in the draft zone.
So you mentioned Angela Nath. Let's touch on that. Touch on her real fast. As far as, I mean, she is an excellent biker. She's
Mm-hmm.
going to be slightly behind out of the swim. What kind of, I mean, what kind of play can she make?
I mean, like you saw in Texas, I mean, Corinne Abraham outbiked her by what, like a couple, like some seconds maybe. I mean, Angela will move up on the bike, but I think she'll also play a very patient and disciplined race. And I bet you she's fitter than Texas. That's the way her coach works. Like, got her ready for Texas. I'm sure she kind of had a little bit of a downtime, and now she's coming into this really fit. She's been out there. She loves the heat. And man, she's just a beast on the bike. And even if she's kind of biking within herself, like her within herself is so much stronger than other people's. I mean, so she's someone who's definitely going to be moving up. I mean, she could definitely go top 5 if she has a really good race. I mean, cause she can run. I mean, what'd she run in Texas? Like right around 3 hours or something.
Yeah, I
And
would say it was right around 3 hours.
and she wasn't like exactly pushed really hard out there. And also, she's kind of like Brett McMahon, because I think she did the Ironman in Tahoe where it was like so freaking cold, and that was just like not good. But Chattanooga and Texas were her 2 other Ironmans, and she went under 9 hours in both of them. So she's kind of like the Brett McMahon of women, who, Brett's only been under 8 hours in his 2 Ironmans. So, I mean, she's someone who could definitely play a role for sure.
When you're talking about winning the race, is it only a 2 women race?
Mm, uh, no, I think if Carfrey doesn't win, there could definitely be people who could get second. Like, because to me, Carfrey's either going to be very close to the win or she's going to be out of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, she's either going to run herself up or she's going to blow up, is what
Right.
you're
Or just have
saying.
like the one year she had like a crappy run. Her crappy run is like a 3:05. But
Yeah, the year Chrissy came back.
no. Leanda. Remember when she almost
Oh,
caught Leanda, and then
yeah.
Leanda just didn't even know she was there and just kept running, and that's the year Leanda won. So that was 2012. Um, and she had lost a bottle on the bike or something like that. So I think if it's a close race between Daniela and Marinda, it's not going to it's going to be tough for someone else to come second to those 2, to kind of break up that thing. But if it's not close and Danielle is way out in front and Miranda's not running well, there are a lot of people who could sneak into second, I think. I don't want to say that, like, I think it's really hard to say, like, oh, it's Daniela's race. It's Daniela's race. Like, that's just stupid. So, um, I don't know. It's so tough because so much can happen out there.
Well, I guess we'll just have to find out then come race day.
Yeah. I don't know.
Do you have any final comments on the women's race?
Not that I can think of right now, but I'm sure I'll think of some when we get off this call.
All
But
right.
yeah.
Well, make sure you guys all stay tuned for next week. We'll be posting multiple things all week long. We'll be posting interviews and, quick comments and on the street stuff we find with people out there. Don't remember this is sponsored by Rudy Project. The discount code is TRY Preview, 50% off all month of October. Check the show notes for all that stuff. Emily, have any last things?
Nope. Mahalo for listening.
Thank you, everybody.